Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be doing my summer wrap-up, and I did want to start this off by saying I actually did a wrap-up for June, which normally I would have considered part of summer, but because I already talked about those books I'm not going to talk about them again, but I will have that video linked down below if you wanted to watch that as well. And so let's just get right into it. This is going to be the first video where I'm actually rating books, and so I've sort of come up with what I consider a 5-star book versus a 1-star book. So I kind of have it written down here just so I didn't forget. For me, I'm going to say a 5-star book is one that I loved and would read again. And that's how I'm going to qualify that. If I would pick it up again in the future, then I think that's a sign that it's a really good book, because I don't often go back and reread books. 4 stars is going to be good. Maybe I'd read it again, maybe not. I don't have plans to read it again. I don't see myself doing it, but there's a possibility that I might be in the mood for it again in the future. 3 stars is going to be good / okay, probably not going to read it again kind of book. 2 stars is wouldn't recommend, didn't like, definitely wouldn't read again. And 1 star is going to be books that I literally couldn't finish, just couldn't get through kind of books. So hopefully there aren't a lot of those. So the first books I wanted to talk about is actually a series. I read a lot of series this summer, and this one in particular, I know I mentioned the first book in a previous wrap-up, but I thought I would include it in here because I read the whole rest of the series. And that is the Seabreeze series by Abbi Glines, which has become one of my favorites. Abbi Glines has become one of my favorite authors very quickly. And this series includes Breathe, Because of Low, While It Lasts, Just for Now, Sometimes It Lasts, Misbehaving, Bad for You, Hold On Tight, and Until the End. And honestly, for me, all of these were 5-star reads. I would 100% read the whole series again. I actually was thinking about it last night when I was thinking about filming this video, and was kind of laughing because I realized that while I was reading this series, every time I finished a book, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to start the next one because this one was my favorite that I just read. But I literally did that for every book in the series, where I was like, no, this one was so good, I'm not going to like the next one, and then I just loved all of them. So I would definitely read them all again. I'm not going to go too in depth about what each of these books is about because I do plan on doing a full video on it at some point. But basically it is a group of friends, they're all college age. College isn't really a main part of the story, but they are all age for college, and they all hang out at this same club or bar kind of place, and it's their one friend group, and each book is about a different friend in the group and their relationship. There's one book where it sort of doubles back and it's the same couple from a previous book, but that only happens one time. And in the last book, Until the End, it also has the sort of post chapters, I guess, where they are in the future kind of thing. And so that's pretty cool as well. So like I said, that whole series was definitely a 5-star read for me. 100% would read them all again. I thought they were all really good. Each one was better than the last, and I literally couldn't pick a favorite. I tried to pick a favorite, and I just liked all of them for different reasons. The next series that I read was the Royals series by Erin, and this one I really loved the first 4 books. And the last one, I don't know, it was okay. I would say the first 4 books were 5 stars, and the last book was maybe 4.5, 4 stars maybe, where I don't know why, I just didn't really like it. The first 3 books focus on one relationship, and then the last 2 focus on a different relationship, which I didn't have a problem with that sort of transition. But like I said, the last one, I wasn't a fan, and I felt like it kind of dragged on a little bit in the beginning. So the Royals basically starts with Elle, who is working at a strip club to pay her rent, and her mom has just died, so she has no money, and she's trying to avoid CPS, so she's kind of trying to fly under the radar. And basically this guy shows up and is just yeah, I'm your guardian, I knew your dad kind of thing, and then he whisks her off to his mansion where his 5 sons live, and it's kind of an enemies to lovers kind of thing at the beginning, but I personally really didn't get that vibe from this, even though that was how I actually found this book, was because it was recommended on an enemies to lovers post, and she obviously ends up with one of the brothers, so the first 3 books follows those 2, and then the second two are about a different brother, which, like I said, I didn't mind, but I just didn't really like the first, probably like half or 3/4 of the last book. I found it a lot slower than the rest of the books, so that was just my personal opinion on that. The next series that I read was another Abbi Glines series. I didn't read the whole series yet, but it is the Rosemary Beach series, and I read the first, I want to say 4, but I have 3 written down here, which were Fallen Too Far, Never Too Far, and Rush Too Far, but for some reason I want to say there was a 4th one that I read. But there's like 12 books in the series in total, and this one is sort of similar to Seabreeze, but I think they're a little bit older in this series, and they're not so much like college age. They're like, I think like mid-20s to late 20s, and this first chunk of books in the series is all about the same couple. It's this girl who basically, her mom dies and she goes to move in with her dad, and she gets to her dad's house, who she hasn't seen in like years, and he's not there. He's gone on vacation with his like wife. I think they're married. I'm pretty sure they're married. He's on vacation in France with his wife or girlfriend or whatever she is, and the only person in the house is Rush, who is essentially like, I guess, her like stepbrother, but also like not really. I don't know, but technically they're not related. And so she basically moves in with him, and he like really hates her at first, and I guess this one would also probably be an enemies to lovers, which I really didn't realize until I just said that part out loud. And so this one was really good. It follows them throughout the 4 books, but like I said, it's a little bit different in the sense that it does follow them over 4 books than Seabreeze, because when I got to the end of the first book, I was like shocked at the ending. I was like, they can't just like end a book like that. And then I realized like that the series does continue on with the same couple, so it makes a lot more sense if you know that going into it. This one was another 4-star read for me. I might read it again if I was ever like in the mood for it, but I didn't love it as much as I loved the Seabreeze series. But like I said, there is still like plenty more books in the series, so I'm definitely going to read those at some point in the future as well. And the last sort of series that I read, I again haven't made it all the way through the series, but is the Alabama Summer series by J. Daniels, and I have read the first 3 books and really, really liked them. I personally thought the first one was the best. It's about this girl named Mia who is moving back to, well, she's not really moving, she's going to spend the summer with her best friend in the city she used to live in, and she decides before she gets there that she has to sleep with someone because her friend is like always bragging about all the guys she's with and whatever, and she's like, I gotta get this out of the way. So she goes to a bar to meet a guy, like literally just some random guy, and go home with him, and the guy she ends up meeting is the older brother of her best friend that she's going to spend the summer with, who she used to hate as a kid. He used to like torment her and like hated her as a kid. She was super annoying and whatever. And that's like, I feel like that sounds really spoilery, but I swear it says all of that on the back of the book because I knew all of that going into the story. And that one was my personal favorite. And the next 2 books follow the guy that she ends up sleeping with, the brother of the older sister. His name's Ben. The second 2 books follow Ben's friends, Luke and Reed, who Ben and Luke are cops together, and Reed, I think, is just like friends with them from school. And it's kind of like a small town, like everybody knows each other kind of thing, and so each book follows, again, their different couples, which I did like. This one's a little bit, again, older, I feel like, than Seabreeze, although I do believe they are actually, like, some of them are college age in this. I got sort of confused in this one with how old they were. I'm not sure if they even, like, mentioned their ages, but I think they are. I mean, they're old enough to be, like, cops and stuff, so they're a little bit older. This one was another 4-star for me. Like I said, I did like the first one the best. That would be probably the one I would be most likely to go back to. I realized I haven't said any of the titles of these books. It is Where I Belong, All I Want, and When I Fall. There are more books. I haven't read them yet, but those 3 I'm giving 4 stars. Would probably read them again. So now I'm going to get into the 5 individual sort of standalone books that I read. And some of these I'm just now realizing are actually part of series, but I haven't read the rest of them. These are single books that I've read. So the first one was My Life Next Door by Huntley Fitzpatrick, and this one is really hyped on BookTube and online and like everywhere, and that was sort of what led me to buy it. But honestly, this one was probably like 3 stars for me. Like, I just found it very slow. Like, I feel like there's a difference between like slow burn and just like straight up slow. And this one was just straight up slow, and I'm not sure. There's 2 more books, I believe, that go with it. There's The Boy Most Likely To and What I Thought Was True. I have the Boy Most Likely To, and I might read it, but honestly, I thought I was gonna like The Boy Most Likely To a lot more. So I'm hoping that if I read it, I'll like it better than My Life Next Door. I did like the concept of it, but there were just certain things that I didn't like about it. I know there was one line that stood out to me, and I'm someone who's always like wanted to have a lot of kids, and this is so like random, but the guy in the book has tons of siblings, and there's a line where he says something like, I wish my parents had thought about what each one of us would have to give up in order for the next child to be born, basically. And he goes on to say, like, obviously he wouldn't give up any of his siblings, but I just, like, I don't know, something about that line just, like, bugged me that it was even in the book. I just didn't like that. And that was just, like, one of the things. I didn't like the mom's boyfriend dude. I mean, I don't think you're supposed to like him, but I just overall wasn't a huge fan of the book. And honestly, that could be just because it was so hyped up to me that I thought it was going to be, like, this crazy, like, life-changing book, and it just wasn't. So that could be part of that as well. The next book is Losing It by Cora Carmack, which is about a girl who is entering her senior year of college and basically decides that she's got to sleep with someone to sort of just like get over the hump, very similar to Alabama Summer Series, where she's like, I'm just gonna find some random guy in a bar, go home with him, and like move on with my life kind of thing. And so she meets this guy in a bar, she goes home with him, and she kind of like freaks out as soon as they get to his house or his apartment. And she ends up like ditching him like halfway through, saying she has to go like find her cat or something, and he knows that like that's obviously like a made-up excuse. But she leaves, and they end up like bumping into each other because they live in the same apartment complex. And then she finds out that this guy is actually her new professor for one of her classes, and so there's this sort of whole thing going on of like, should they be together, should they not be together kind of thing. And I thought this one was really good. It's actually the first one in a series as well, but like I said, I haven't read the rest of the series yet. But I did think that this one was pretty good. I would give it 4 stars. I might go back and read it, might not. I do think I would continue on with the series though, so I think that's a good sign as well. The next one is The Deal by Elle Kennedy, and this one I loved. This was definite 5 stars for me because it's a hockey romance, and being Canadian, Elle Kennedy's Canadian, I think, it was just like, it's perfect. It's basically about this girl, Hannah, who finds this guy that she basically decides she wants to be with. And he's a football player, I think. And she's like obsessed with this idea of getting his attention and getting him to notice her and whatever. But then she has to tutor this hockey player because he's like failing this class and he has to keep his grades up to keep his like hockey playing rights or whatever. And so she ends up tutoring him, and he ends up basically sort of coaching her like through everything, and he agrees to sort of like be her fake date to get this other guy's attention. It sort of covers the fake dating trope and the sort of enemies to lovers kind of. They don't like hate each other in the beginning, but they definitely don't want to be spending time with each other. And she has sort of had issues in her past that are affecting her ability to enter relationships in the present, and this guy just sort of helps her like walk her through it, and then, you know, some stuff happens. And I thought this one was really good. This one is part of the Off-Campus series, which then sort of branches off into the Briar U series, which eventually I would like to read all of them. I have only read the first one solely because it was free on Amazon, like Kindle download, and so that's why I've only read the first one. I definitely plan to read all of them eventually when I can afford to buy them. The next one I read is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This one I read because it has been recommended so much by Lovely Like Laura, who is probably my favorite booktuber, I would say. She's like the only one I actually will watch like all of her videos, and she loves this book. She talks about it all the time, and it's basically about this girl who ends up dating her boyfriend's dad, which sounds really, really weird. And like, I'll be the first to admit, when I heard Laura talking about it, I was like, okay, that sounds a little like, I don't know if that's gonna be my thing. But I got it because, again, this was another one that was free, like had a free download on Kindle on Amazon, and so I downloaded it and figured I'd give it a shot, and it actually was not as weird as I thought it was going to be. This one was probably like a 4.5 star for me. They really, I think, do a good job of making the boyfriend sort of irrelevant. Like, he's not like a good boyfriend really, and the dad isn't that much older, and it's not as weird as it sounds. I feel like it still sounds really weird, but if you even like have the most like remote little bit of interest, I would read it because, like I said, I thought it was going to be kind of weird, but it wasn't. So that one was definitely another good one. The last book I read was The QB Bad Boy Me by Tay Marley. This is a Wattpad book, which if you have watched any of my book videos, you know I'm obsessed with Wattpad books. And basically it is about a girl named Dallas who falls for the quarterback, whose name is Drayton, and it's just like their whole relationship. There's not a lot that like I feel like I can say in like a synopsis kind of way, where I feel like the book is just their relationship. Like that's what it is. There's no like crazy like twist or anything. It's just very sort of simple, and like this is sort of like a real relationship kind of thing. Like, okay, here's the start to beginning. There's no crazy like drama really that happens. I mean, there's like the normal stuff, but it's very, I think, sort of easy to read, which I personally appreciate a lot of the time, because sometimes books I feel like are just throwing you so many curveballs that you're like, this isn't even remotely close to being like humanly possible in real life. But this book was just very real, I felt like, and I really like that. I'm going to talk about this one probably more in a future video because I want to do a video all on Wattpad books, and so I will talk about this one more whenever I get around to doing that. And like I said, this one, did I say? I don't think I said. This one was a 4-star for me. I would probably read it again if I was in the mood. Not one that I think I'm going to be going back to like immediately, but it's definitely one that in the future I could see myself reading again. And so those were all the books I read this summer. Like I said, I will have the June wrap-up linked down below if you wanted to watch that, because those books were obviously part of summer as well. But that is going to be it for today, so thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new videos every single Sunday, and I will see you next time.